Hey, what's going on, beautiful Jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And in today's video, we're going to be chatting about why I no longer play Modern. I've actually filmed quite a few videos about this, but I feel like I've now able to take like a step back and really just kind of look at things, I would say, a little bit more. I don't know if like objectively is the right word, because I don't know. It's not the right word, but like just looking at things on the big, like maybe a bigger picture, and basically chatting about the reasons that I have decided to no longer play in the format. I haven't engaged in it in a while. I don't know if you can hear, but crying cats at my door. But they're just a wreck when they're in here. Like, they just get into things. They can't handle it. They just can't handle it. So I basically think we need to start with probably one of my biggest gripes about, I guess you could just say, like, competitive Magic in general. I don't really know. I can't really speak for other formats, but the one aspect that I don't enjoy about Modern is that there's this idea that there is the best deck at the current time, and you kind of have to be like ahead of the game and really just kind of figure out like what it is. And you have to, even if, let's just say, you're playing this one deck that you've been playing for a while, and then all of a sudden everyone is like, well, this is going to be like the best deck in the format, you should be playing this, and then the idea is that you just are able to spend like $1,000 or whatever and just dump money into a deck. And hey, I don't know if you're aware, but that's not realistic for everyone. Myself personally, am I in a situation where I could do that? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't want to for a couple of reasons. First off, I personally like playing one kind of deck, and I don't want to be a jack of all trades. When I played Modern, I didn't want to. I wanted to play control decks. Even when people said control decks are bad, I still wanted to play control deck, which I understand that that's partially like, that's like, not partially, that's on me. That's just the type of player that I want to be. And I feel like I didn't want to change my deck style because other people told me, well, you just have to do this. And yeah, that really bothers me when people tell me like what I need to do in a format. And so, for example, and this kind of goes into like this whole bigger idea, which is just like people telling other people what they should be doing, i.e. dumping thousands of dollars every single other week or every other month just to change a deck when that deck is going to go stale, or cards are going to, I don't know, just no longer be relevant, they get banned, whatever happens. And there's a lot of people, you know, who are very privileged and very lucky, who are able to just buy cards or are able to borrow cards from other people. Not everyone is in that position, and it's very, I don't think it's very good to just assume that everyone can just like realistically do that, because I think that's what a lot of people want to do. And so a couple of just things to note. Another thing is if people want to play this idea of like the best deck, like everyone should be playing the best deck, I don't know if people really know what that would look like, because realistically, if let's just take this like situation where that actually does happen. You have every single person walks into a tournament and the best deck is, I don't know, like Tron. Do people still play that deck? I feel like they do. Every single person walks through that door. Let's say it's a 1,000-person tournament. Every person plays Tron. Can you just imagine what that would look like? Like, it's round 9 and here we in at the feature match, and guess what we have again? It's Tron v Tron. And like, seriously, okay, there's nothing wrong with like mirror matches. Like, there's nothing wrong with them, but like if that, I'm painting a picture here that like if people say this is the best deck, everyone should play it, it's like, okay, but like then it just that doesn't make sense. It's not enjoyable to watch. Like, it's just, after, you know, X amount of rounds of just watching the mirror match, like, I don't think that's very good. I don't think that's very good for, just not enjoyable, seriously. And I think there's, like, this big idea, and then this other kind of idea that I wanted to, like, chat about, that this really, really bothers me about deck building. So I would always kind of, like, do my own thing with deck building. What I would like to do is I would just pull a bunch of, like, basically lists from other people and then cards that I myself personally wanted to run, and then I would kind of like make my deck from there, whatnot. And if I was like, hey, like this is what I'm gonna go into for this weekend, this is my list, this is what I think I'm feeling confident about. And I would say the whole list idea and like changing up my list, I didn't get better about until I would say, like, the latter half of my, like, modern, like, time, I definitely wasn't like that at the beginning. I would just keep the same list. There's, like, nothing wrong with that. I think, though, it is good, I would say, as a player to have cards that you are changing up, because the reality is you might be going into a tournament, let's say, like, let's just take the card, like, Rest in Peace, for example. I can't really imagine a time where, like, a card like this might not be utilized. Let's say you're going into a tournament, you know there's going to be no one on Graveyard Recursion. That is not the format, that is not what it's going to be. And you're running this in your sideboard, you might be wasting, like, 2 slots, where it might be better to run something else. And so one thing that would happen a lot to me is people would tell me, like, oh, you need to run, like, this card, for example. And so this would happen with Jace Vryn's Prodigy. And if you've been, like, following me for a minute, you would know that I have very strong feelings about this card. I don't like this card. I didn't like this card since day one. And you know what was really funny is I remember when, like, Jace got spoiled and everyone was like, he's, like, actually, like, the worst, and everyone hated them. And then people played him in Modern and were like, oh my gosh, like, every blue deck needs to be playing this deck. And I was playing Grixis Control at the time. And I was like, yeah, no, like, he's really bad. And realistically, I'm valid and I'm allowed to have those feelings. I, like, legitimately do think that card is bad, and I don't think people should have been telling me that I should have run that card. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. And another card that a lot of people gave me flack for not running was Cryptic Command. And it's so funny. I mentioned Cryptic Command in I don't even remember what video, and I still get comments on that video, and people are like, yeah, Cryptic Command is really slow. And I love when people comment that, because I'm like, yes, like, other people understand me. And you know what? There's going to be, like, people, I'm going to get flamed in the comments, who are just, like, going to be like, Tracy, you're wrong. Cryptic Command's a great Magic card, whatever. But my thought was, particularly at the time that I was playing, is the format was just so quick, and to have a 4-mana thing that was triple blue, and my deck was also running, like, black and red. I think when I was playing, like, blue-white control, I think it's obviously, like, better and it's, like, fine, but I just don't think that Cryptic Command is as good. I think it's definitely an overhyped card. And, yeah, I'm gonna get, like, a lot of people throwing shade, but whatever. It's just, it never really set well with me. It was never a card that I really, like, loved to cast and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's this idea, this sort of, like, elitist mentality of, like, this is the answer, this is the right way to play a deck, this is the right deck you should be playing, you should play these cards, this is the list you should do, you need to be in the know with the format, you need to know what your opponent's gonna do. Like, there's so much going on constantly. And I don't like being told, like, you should be doing this. And this took me, like, a while to realize that for most people, how they think of it is there's 2 types of Magic players. There's that are playing Modern. There's pros and there's amateurs. And obviously there's a lot of, that's, like, very vague, and there's a lot of, like, wiggle room within there. Maybe there's even, like, a middle, like, intermediate tier or whatever. The point is people have this belief that pro players are able to make executive decisions and are able to make are able to innovate and are able to make decisions about the format. So, for example, if you're a pro player, right, and you say, you know what, I'm going to go into this weekend, you know what card I've been thinking would be really good in this format right now? This card, whatever. And then people are, like, analyzing that, like, after, being like, whoa, like, did you see, like, this person's list? They ran one of that card in the sideboard. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen someone run that card in the sideboard. That's really interesting. And there's that side, right? And then it's like that pro might comment and say, like, hey, I decided to play this in the sideboard. Like, don't really know how I feel about it. It was kind of whatever. Or maybe it turns out great, whatever the situation is. That's that side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is, like, an amateur, intermediate, whatever we're going to call them, kind of player who also does something like that. And then people tell them that they're bad and they're wrong. However, the pro player does the same exact thing. They get called an innovator. And the amateur/intermediate player is just told, you're making the wrong decision because you're not a pro Magic player. And, sorry, but I don't agree with that. That, like, really, really, really bothers me, because I was making these decisions and I thought, and, like, I'm not here to say every decision I made was super great. Maybe running Cryptic Command was fine or whatever. I'm not going to say great. You'll never say, like, I'm never going to say, like, running Cryptic Command is great. Like, I'm just, sorry, not going to do it. But, oh my gosh. One card that I remember I got a lot of, like, praise, actually, for, a lot of questions, is when I was playing Grixis Control, I actually ran Keranos in the main board instead of the sideboard. And I stand true to that decision firmly on this day, that I think it was great. And I feel like the thing that people think is they're like, well, like, you're just going to draw it and then it's just going to be useless. And it's like, cool, you can say that about a lot of other stuff. And, like, whatever. So, yeah, I think that whole point of, like, this pro v, I guess, not pro, that just really bothers me. It's like, I'm able to be innovative, I'm able to do other things, even though I'm not a pro Magic player, I'm able to, like, test boundaries. I don't want a net deck, I don't want to just take someone else's deck that top 8 at a Grand Prix and just copy paste that. There is nothing wrong with net decking. Just want to be really clear here. If you want to go and you don't have the time to just think about a deck list and you just need something good and reliable, yeah, absolutely, do that. But there's some people who just want to make decisions and just decide things, and, like, that's totally fine. And be innovative, and that's totally fine. I don't have to be a pro Magic player to do that. That's the tea. Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Okay. And the last point, and this is really a just, like, me thing, is I feel like there is definitely a pressure that when it comes to competitive Magic, in the sense of, like, people watching your games. Listen, if I'm playing Commander and someone's watching my game, I don't care at all, because the kind of Commander that I play is very casual. I don't want to say Commander is casual, because there's definitely, like, a CEDH that's like separate. Like, that's, to me, that's like a totally separate, like, thing, and it is a separate thing. But, like, you know, we play very, like, casual. I play with my friends. I have a very specific group, well, not now, but I have a very specific group of people that I play Commander with. And, well, again, I'm not playing Magic right now. Like, stay safe, wear a mask, all that stuff. But I feel like in Magic, modern, and this makes total sense, right? Like, total sense that people are gonna just, when, you know, your round finishes and you're like, what do you do? It's like, okay, you're probably, you know, one thing that people do is they go over and they look at, well, what are other people doing? And what are other people, like, playing and stuff? And so they'll, like, watch and observe. And so one downside, I would say, to playing Control that I was never a huge fan of is I would always joke that, like, Control mages never get bathroom breaks, because your rounds can either go, well, it depends. Your rounds can either go very quickly because someone kills you, or they go very long because you're controlling and stalling the game out until you know, have a win condition, whatever. One reason why I ran Keranos in the main board, because he's a win condition. You know, some blue mages are like, what's a win condition? It's like, hey, you actually kind of need that. Anyways, tea. I'm just throwing a little tea there. But, anyways. Oh, this video is full of tea. I hope y'all are cool with that. But, so, is people would, like, watch games or whatever, which is, like, totally fun and totally casual. And so, so I was talking about bathroom breaks. So, yeah, we never got bathroom breaks. So, I remember one day I was at a Wednesday, like, modern night or whatever. This is, like, super casual. This is, like, not a main big event or anything like that. It's just a casual Wednesday modern event. And, I'm playing against Lantern Control. I'm playing Grixis Control, which is a very interesting match up. I don't know why that was hard to say. I feel like I was trying to say matcha there. It was a very interesting matchup. Because of Culligan's Command. Because Culligan's Command would just, you know, we'll talk about Culligan's Command, or K-Command as I like to call it, in a little bit. But basically, it is the first round, or rounds? No, like the first match, basically. And it's a long, grindy game, you know. Typically with Lantern Control is typically someone who's piloting it gets the lock, and typically someone scoops, depending on their outs. Again, playing Grixis Control, I have outs, and I'll talk about that in a second, about what that kind of looks like, or one example of what that would look like. So, we're playing round one, game one, and I don't really remember what happens game one, but I win. So, it's 1-0. I'm winning. He has 0 wins. And we're going into the second game. And if I'm remembering correctly, this is probably like half an hour later or so. So there's people milling about and they're watching our game. And as the game progresses, you know, we're taking very close to like the 50 minutes or whatever that's for the round, we're in game 2. And so he has the like lock, right? He's got all the pieces of lantern control. He has like, I feel like it's Ensnaring Bridge. This is so long ago at this point, but Ensnaring Bridge on board, and realistically too. Again, that's the interesting thing about playing Grixis Control, is because, you know, I don't necessarily need to attack with creatures. Did I mention Keranos recently? You don't need to attack with Keranos, folks, to kill people. It's great. So this video is just like, it's just like title and then it's like parenthetical why Keranos is a great Magic card. Seriously, he's great. So anyways, we're playing the game, and my build's interesting because I'm playing things like Lightning Bolt, and so realistically I can just like Lightning Bolt, snap, Lightning Bolt, you know, not attack with the snap, but then just like have Lightning Bolt. And again, the probably most interesting card that really stops against him was Culligan's Command, and maybe I sided in other things, I don't even remember what I sided in the second game to like stop his artifacts. I couldn't even tell you, it's been so long. So we're playing the game and more people are joining. This is probably like 45 minutes or whatever into the match, into game 2. And so there's like a lot of eyes on me, right? And I end up winning the game because, and I'm not someone who's like, Tracy, like, you're a great Magic player. No, but like I made very good, like very tight plays. I was doing things like, he would do end of turn, you know, he'd have us Ensnaring Bridge, whatever. I think it's Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, I think it's like that lock card where like you can't attack. I'm pretty sure it is. He's got like no cards in his hand. So then I like end of turn, I'm like, cool, snap, Culligan's Command, deal 2 damage to you, destroy your Ensnaring Bridge. My turn, let's just say I have 2 Snapcaster Mage, hit you for 4. You know, I'm not saying that's like the most innovative, like best play you could ever make, but like I was making really clutch plays like that and being really cautious about like when I was destroying things and how I was responding to things and like all this sort of stuff. And, you know, just like I think I was making good plays and I ended up winning. And it was one of the best matches I think I've ever played and whatnot. And like, it felt so weird because there's so many people whose eyes are on me. And I think the tricky thing about Control is it's not easy to pilot. It's just not. And I think you have to have a lot of patience and you have to know what things to counter. You have to know those sorts of things, those interactions, like, okay, if they have the lock, like, when do I scoop? Like, when doesn't it make sense? What are my outs? Like, there's so many intricacies that go into it. And I think, like, just, like, people, like, looking and just, like, watching, and, like, a lot of this just really is in my head of, like, I think people are watching and, like, being like, wow, Tracy sucks. Like, how did she not see that she should have done this? Or, like, whatever. And realistically, is that happening? No. And I just had a conversation with one of my kids about this today because she was like, Miss Dano, she's like, I get really embarrassed when, like, this happens. And I was like, hey, can I tell you something? She's like, what? I was like, people are gonna notice for like 5 seconds and then they're just gonna like forget about it. So it's like the only person who's like worrying about that level of embarrassment is yourself. And I was like, I am an adult and I deal with this all the time too. So I was like, don't even worry about that one thing. Like, don't even worry about it at all. And so it's kind of like the same thing as like realistically, like, does anyone now, X amount of years later, remember that match? Remember my moves? Absolutely not. But I have this idea in my head that people care so much. And I think the thing I love so much about Commander is taking a step back and being like, hey, I get to just like really enjoy my time and just not think that hard about my plays and just have fun with my friends. And that's what I really wanted in Magic. Not this super competitive thing where I have to spend countless hours on end to try to improve my practice and try to get better. And that grind, I just realistically don't have the time for. I don't have the patience for, and I don't want to do that. I want to dedicate hours of my day to getting better at Magic. I just want to play Magic and not really think that much. That's what I enjoy about the game. However, the really cool thing about Magic is there's different formats like that for a reason, where if you like that side and you love those critical thinking skills and that's what you want to do, so happy for you. I'm so glad that you found that thing that makes you happy in the game. That's just not my jam. And that's fine. And that's what's really cool about the game. I love that. So anyways, that's it, y'all. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and just, like, got something out of it. And, you know, I think this is one of those things where, like, I think if you were to ask me a lot of this, especially, like, the innovative thing, like, if you were to ask me about that stuff and ask me to formulate into words how I felt, I think I would have just been like, nah, people are telling me that I should be running Jace Vryn's Prodigy when that card sucks. And, like, that's would have been my response. But I feel like now I'm able to, like, take a step back and, like, be like, oh, like, that's why I was feeling that way. And, yeah. So, anyways, I'd really like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Probably counting the number of comments I'm going to get that call me out about Cryptic Command. It's probably about 10 people, so that's my number that I think people who are gonna call me out about Cryptic Command. Now, whatever. Anyways, yeah, that's it for this video. But yeah, don't just, like, comment to be like, you're wrong. Like, that's not, I have my opinion, and you saying that is not making me change my mind. Like, I've had enough people tell me about Cryptic Command, and guess what? It still has not changed my mind. Like, sorry, not sorry. Anyways, but if you have, like, a constructive, like, this is why Cryptic Command is used, okay, that's fine. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, I would really love to hear what you guys think in a comment, particularly if you're in a situation like mine where maybe you just got into Modern or you're just a Commander lover, whatever. I'd like to know what you guys think in a comment below. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.